Good evening, folks. Red County Blue Nation, Westcliff, Colorado, great states of Americans. Stephen Rorick, Mike Boring on the console, James McMahon, Taylor Lo Presti. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Doing great, Steve. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yep. Good to be here.
yeah.
Thank
It
you.
was good to see a little bit of rain and a lot of sunshine, and yeah,
Yep.
getting ready for winter.
Absolutely.
Getting ahead of winter.
Does that mean that
Absolutely.
you're forecasting a little snow, or?
I think I've been here for about 27 years, and I'm thinking we might have a little bit of early, but it's hard to say. I'll tell you in May.
Well, I did. It seems like there's more late moisture than there has been in quite a few years. Usually, into August, September, usually it's just dry.
Cook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's usually no rain, which maybe that'll just turn to snow.
Sure.
And there's a little bit of snow up on the hill, and Macy was running the other day,
Oh,
and it was running pretty stout. So that was the big telltale sign.
I know the creeks out in the San Luis Valley were flowing pretty good last week. When I went back there this past weekend, they're full. They're pretty murky, from all the rain. But there are folks still fishing out there, fishing and bow hunting. So it's a good time had by all.
yeah, man.
Yeah, no water, no life. Water's the key to everything.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah, we any drop of rain we get in a high mountain desert is a blessing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I remember that 7-foot snowfall we had. As tough as that was for a few days, it was really
Okay.
it paid off.
Yeah, we had some early snows too this past spring. When I came out with was down at the house down in the south, and I think it was May. I think it was May time frame.
Yeah,
Got a foot and a half, almost 2 feet of snow,
absolutely.
and no power, and staying out of the back of a trailer just was a little painful. But, it was all good though. All good. Fun times. Fun times.
Hopefully, you guys got plenty of coats.
Oh,
Lots
yeah.
of socks
Oh, yeah.
and long johns. Huh?
Lots of coats. Fortunately, it didn't stick around too long, but it was good. Good times. Yep.
So, well, we appreciate you coming in this evening, Taylor. I guess let's talk a little bit, if you guys want to, about what went on at the county commissioner meeting last Wednesday.
It was the first county commissioner meeting I'd ever been to. I've met all three commissioners. I like them. They seem to be very good, very very well educated people. It was a well handled meeting. Hans Prahl and I were both there, and it was a well conducted meeting. Stacy Terrell had a presentation that she gave on the kids council. That was a very informative presentation, and the details of it. I'm not going to go into the details on that. I'd let Stacy do that, but the kids council is in dire need of some assistance, and it's a tough time here in Custer County. A lot of good folks that have children are strapped, and they have to work, and they have to leave their kids at daycare, and there's just not a lot of that type of business around the county. So that's a challenge. That's a challenge for them, and they're overcoming it, little by little. And Stacy at the forefront of it. Stacy Terrell, I'm sure a lot of you know her. Very bright young lady. Her heart is in the game. She's good people. And that was the kind of the thrust of the meeting. A couple of things I did notice, I did kind of take away, was it had a little bit to do with the finances. And I was a little stunned, not stunned, but I was curious about how the finances are determined. And reports can be generated and numbers can be put on paper and whatnot, but what goes behind those decisions as to how much money is provided for a certain cause or for a certain need? And I'm just wondering if for some of these services and some of the products that that the county purchases, are those bid upon? Is a bid put out countywide, statewide, even nationwide for a particular service, so you can get the best product, so you can get the best price, rather than just coming up with the first person to step on board and say, okay, I'll do this for this amount. And I'm sure I know there's got to be more thought that put into that. And again, I'm learning about that, but I think more could be done in directing the finances, and policies and procedures could be put into place that would be beneficial for those that are making the decisions. And rather than kind of going with a knee-jerk reaction or shooting from the hip, you have policies and procedures to rely upon to make those difficult decisions. So that's kind of some of the things that I kind of pulled out of that. Otherwise, it was a great meeting. There was a gentleman who was talking about the assessment for affordable housing. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. I have it written down, but he had some interesting comments. But I think a lot more can be done that's not necessarily being approached. And again, I want to find out more about what goes into making those decisions, and are more than just one person being given the opportunity to perform a service
Absolutely.
or a product.
When you're doing the business of the people, when you have 5,000 people that you're representing and you're doing their business, that transparency and procedure of saying, okay, I got 3 bids. These are the bids that we received.
Part of that doesn't go down like that at all, and that's transparent from what happened at Just Price Park.
What happened there?
Well,
Not
so
familiar.
they got a grant. I can't remember how much the grant was. And they thought, oh, great, we're going to get a grant, so we'll revamp the park. Well, what they did was put it all into concrete, right, so they don't have to do anything. But it cost them $450,000 to revamp that park, and I think they got $150 off the grant, so they still had to match an additional $300,000. But there was no bids or nothing from my recollection, since we had some information that came through that just showed that all of a sudden these people just got the job, and it was related to Caleb, wasn't it, Jimmy?
From what I witnessed from it, and this is a whole nother thing about and this is not county. This is more West Cliff.
Well, that's just one particular interest.
No. And Stephen, I'm not gonna shy away from it. That needs to be a whole different topic, because I got attacked severely when we talked about that on the podcast. When that was taking place, there were some people that came directly to me and said, you don't know what you're talking about. You got your head up your ass, and you don't have a clue on really how that happened. And my response was, well, the transparency was so murky.
Did you go ahead and just tell them to go ahead and tell me how it happened then?
And I did, and that pretty much finalized the conversation. And here again, I can get right to the point and say, well, if it wasn't real transparent and clear, it was murky, you didn't do your job. Because when you're doing the public's business, it needs to be pretty crystal clear. This is where the idea started. This is where the committee was formed. These are the people on the committee. This is how the decisions were made. These were the minutes that were kept. This is how we came to all this. And that's how you do the public's business. Is you record, and that's why minutes. People go, oh, the minutes. What do you mean the minutes?
That's how anybody that wants to do a reasonable job goes about it.
You stay above reproach. The conversation stays within a confined area. The discussions are happening. And that's why they call it the sunshine law. You don't do stuff in the closet and then come out in the sunshine and already have a pre-orchestrated conversation. But that's what these Nimrods have figured out on how to do, because they don't have any concern about loyalty, honesty, upright. None of those words fit their
Well,
character.
It's back to what we talked about before. It's the two different sides. You have judiciarily responsible and just spin, spin, spin.
Then you have agenda driven. So I define it even better than that. Some of this stuff.
Well, ultimately, agenda goes back to money. That is the agenda.
Well, and I know how you say it is a blanket. How I'm going to say it is I'm going to define it as we've already talked about the Justice Center, Steve, behind your back. We have all this stuff over here that you can't get to. We've already talked about it. Your business behind your back. Now we're going to have a public meeting about it. Then we're going to orchestrate it and slant it the way we want it to go.
Good point.
So I don't want to be a real butthead about that, but
Politics 101.
That's politics 101, and it happens right here, right now, because the things that are getting ready to get crammed down our throat.
Well, and so let's get on that subject, because I mean, while we're thinking about it, tell us, Taylor, what did you determine about how they want to try to raise our property tax to help float the bill for the Justice Center?
That was interesting because that kind of came out of the blue. I certainly wasn't expecting to hear anything about a justice center, because I thought that had been voted down on multiple occasions. So when I heard that issue arise again, I was a little taken back and didn't quite know what to think of it. So I need to do more research on that, find out where that's coming from. But again, the majority of the people of our county voted that down 2 times. And I mean, if we truly do need a justice center, a jail, I think it will be quite apparent, although I don't see that on the surface at this point. Again, it's going to take more research on my behalf.
I've done quite a bit of research, and I'm be more than happy to share some of that stuff. Yeah. So I went through and asked, what actually are we required by law? Mm-hmm. They want to say mandate this and we're required that. Very, very few of that. There's only a couple state
rules.
Yeah. The terminology, the actual professional
right
statute.
There's
only a couple state statutes that say that you have to maintain a credible courtroom. All that stuff is part of the state statute. But all of this stuff that they're talking about is only guidelines of what other counties have used. There is no state statute that says that we got to do anything. It's just guidelines that other counties have used. And it's just, I mean, I think what we need to do is form a coalition of people and say, hey, look, folks, I mean, let's be realistic, Ann. Just because you and Lisa want to get the contract on this, that's my opinion, right? I'm drawing at straws there, folks, but that's still my opinion, right? And I'm going to say that. I mean, I don't understand why they would fight so hard. Third time, they're going for it for a third time. It's like, didn't you hear us the first 2 times? But yet you just keep ramming it down our throat here, right? So we know you got ulterior motives. We don't need all of this stuff, right? So let's form a real committee and go through and look at what we actually need to get into compliance and kind of check this stuff out. Mm-hmm. I mean,
let's do a bare bones assessment of financially, what can we afford? How can we semi-comply to more safety? We don't want the judge to get killed. We don't want the people sitting in the jury box. You know, there's things that we need to address just because there's a little bit more threat, I guess. And in our culture, the threat in our culture has graduated to the point where people aren't reasonable. You're not just going to sit there and take your look and let the judge hand you something. Sometimes there's some pretty bizarre behavior that takes place in the Justice Center. In the system, and we do need to protect and take those extra measures to keep people safe, but not to the detriment of the taxpayer.
I mean, yeah, Jimmy, you bring up a fantastic point. We do live in a dangerous world. We take driving to work every day, going out hunting, whatever you do, riding a motorcycle, life is inherently dangerous, but there are measures that can be put into place, and building a justice center that's perhaps not needed is not going to address anything but cost money. And I've spent 24 years of my life in law enforcement. I worked the jail in Colorado Springs when I was with the posse in El Paso County. And if it's run well, and if certain safety measures are adhered to and precautions, it's not only safe for the deputies, but it's also safe for the inmates. And it comes obviously for the deputies. It comes with a lot of training, and again certain what do you call it?
Some protocol.
Engineering.
Right.
Engineering needs to put into place to make that happen. But if we could instead take the county courthouse that we have now and fix it up. I mean, that place it's a historical monument. I mean, it's been there since, I don't know what,
I forget what it says on it, but yeah, that's
shortly thereafter. But I mean, it's a landmark. It's a beautiful location, and build that thing out to where it's a beautiful location for folks to come by and say, look at that courthouse. My gosh, that's fantastic. I mean, there are other courthouses in the country, or in the county, or in the state. You look at Saguache County.
Yeah.
Their courthouse, it's a 3-story courthouse. It's a tiny county. The town is maybe 450 people strong, but they've got a 3-story courthouse. I mean, it's a beautiful building. And if we would think outside the box a little bit and try to improve what we already have and save the taxpayers of our county a huge amount of money, then why not? Why not look at it?
That would be a double positive.
well, yeah. There's every reason to do that because number one, we can't afford the other scenario, and you can't afford it, and you don't need it.
Right.
Them are the two big things right there. I mean, right? Like there's what did Jimmy call a non-starter? After them two things, there's nothing else to talk about. Can't afford it, and you don't need it. Why are you looking at a Lamborghini when all you need is a dang old pickup, right?
Sure.
You just don't need it.
Here again, some people look at things in a business perspective where it's profit and loss, and a lot of people don't even understand what profit and loss is. They don't understand input costs. They don't understand what actually after all the
That's back to that
procedure.
dividing line of are you on one side of the fence or the other?
So-
Either
and-
you're a businessman and you care about money, or you just want to spend other people's money.
Right, and I, Steve, you absolutely, that's a nail on the head. There's no doubt about it. That's the heart of the matter. So when a Donald Trump gets in office and he's leading by profit and loss, and he's looking at efficiencies and how we can get things done, that's a leader and a statesman. When you get somebody that's not that way, you get the opposite of that, where they're not being frugal with the money. They're not thinking about your money and saying, hey, we need to spend this and get as much bang for a buck, and looking at profit and loss. When you get that, and then you also get agenda-driven people, that's the environment where a politician is created. And that's where we get special interests, and we get lobbyists, and we get people that they're swaying things in their way at the expense of the taxpayer, and the taxpayer is just doesn't even know what's going on behind the closed doors, but politicians are selling us out. And that's what's happening here. I'm concerned that we're being sold out.
We obviously are.
Our personal interest, and here again, though, when I say personal interest, so you have to define that from me. What is my personal interest? What is Jim McMahon's personal interest? Why am I concerned? You have to start breaking that down, and you need to get that from me.
Well, and so
You have to understand that. And when you
you're
don't, you put me in a corner and you don't represent me. Kevin Day and Flower and Candid, they all said, we don't represent your type. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't represent my type? My lawn's not
You're
mowed.
kind.
Yeah, my kind. I'm like, what the hell is
Kevin said that to him point blank.
What are you guys talking about? I come up here and enhance this community. You know, this is a Christian Republican neighborhood. There's farming and ranching, there's open space, there's clean water, there's clean air. I came up here to enhance that. I can build a fence, I can milk a cow, I can build a house. I fit into this community. I love God and I love Christianity and I love this place. And I moved here not to destroy it, but to enhance it.
And we do kind of, not to cut you off there, but we do have a little bit of a personal, we've already taken a cross section of people's personal feelings on the whole thing because we voted the Justice Center down twice. The people have already said how they feel at the voting box, and here your elected officials are trying to go around a third time and going to raise your property tax to try to get
Right.
the Justice Center in without even asking us.
So I want to be a real butthead here, and I want to be kind of the devil's advocate. Just to be sarcastic, to kind of bring out some of what's taken place. Steve, we already bought the land. We got the land, Stephen.
Well, I know you do because you got paid off to buy it. Cindy Howard tried to sell you the land for $100,000 that was more acres with 2 water taps, and you wouldn't do that, Ann. You got paid, Ann. We know you got paid, Ann.
Right. See what I'm saying? We have a track. We have traced and tracked. I'm a hunter, and when you're hunting, you understand. You want to know the movement of where your prey is going and increase the odds of success of having a successful kill. You don't want the animal to die in a miserable death. You want a good, clean shot. So you need to know the watering hole. You need to know where they're going to lay down in the heat of the day. All this stuff. So you track them. This is what we've done to these politicians. We've tracked these. I'm a tracker. That's what I do. And I use the same technique in hunting an animal as I have these politicians. All of this stuff is such unreasonable behavior. And it's coming to the point now where time is caught up to them. Time is caught up to where we already see it. You can't hide your behavior. The track record and the pattern of behavior that we've tracked on you shows all of what's going on. There's no way they can get out of it, except their timeline is getting really close to either doing something or not. Bill Canada's getting ready to get out of there.
So we really need to focus on this because we don't have much time. Can you elaborate a little bit more, Taylor? Are they trying to wrap this property tax hike into the lodging tax?
I don't, Steve, I don't know. From what I was hearing, I believe part of it was a grant match, if I'm not mistaken. But still, that's going to require a tremendous amount of money coming from our coffers. And I want to say something that I've always believed, and it's something that my dad taught me, something that I learned in working for the government, is the taxpayers' money belongs to the taxpayers, and until it's spent, it's nobody else's money. It doesn't belong to the politicians. It doesn't. When it leaves the hands of us, we trust the government to do the right thing with our money. And unfortunately, a lot of times, and I mean, even federal government, it's squandered on, with a large bureaucracy, I suppose, as unfortunate it is to say that it happens. But it should be minimized. And when policies and procedures are put into place and repercussions from not following those policies and procedures are put into place.
Those are
if there's
controls.
No punishment, then there's no crime. So it's like why should I care? What I do with this money? I have it. If I don't spend it, I'm just going to have to put it back into the general fund.
Got to give it back.
Exactly. And what happens? Well, in good years, it's given back to the taxpayers. And what's better than that? But it's not the government's money. It's not the politicians' money. It belongs to us until it's spent. And you know, we trust our leaders to put it into the right things. And so as far as that goes, again, that's going to require more research on my part to find that out. But
The
it looks
reason
like they were trying to get some money from the state to assist. But again, it's 40 million? Okay.
yeah, so
I
I
don't
mean,
think that's going to happen.
no, and it's just like what's happened. It's just like what happened at the park, just what happened at the wood chipper. They give you a little bit of money, but they expect you to take up the lion's share, and you just can't afford it. Plus, you don't need it. Just like the wood chipper, we already got wood chipper. There's two or three or four guys that make a living off chipping wood around here, and you're gonna take their tax money and create a direct competition with them. Direct competition.
That's absolute socialism. That's the seed start of how you're taking the taxpayers' money. Government officials are using it to combat
So this whole
commerce.
this whole
commerce.
thing, in my opinion, I mean, we had a conversation a little bit about it yesterday, and I was reminiscing some of that. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, right? They're talking about making a 6% lodging tax. It was already 2% that goes to the tourism board. Then they're talking about 2% going to child care and the other 2% going to low-income housing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the tourism board, maybe that makes a little bit of sense. I mean, I don't like the idea of taking my money and then using it for maybe somebody else. Like if I want to advertise, I'll buy my own advertisement, right? But the fact of the matter that they're going to take tourism money and fund low-income housing and childcare, right? I get it, and I feel for them people, but it is still, it's fittest of the fittest. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it, and it's socialism to the core to take money from taxpayer, from tax money. You know, you're talking about a gratuity tax or a tax, a tourism tax, and you're going to take that and fund low-income housing, right? Like where does I mean, that's socialism at the very core of it all. You're going to take from the rich and give to the poor because they can't afford it. Well, that's not my fault. I didn't do that to them people. And it doesn't mean that I don't have some compassion, but at the end of the day, I understand that you can't buy champagne with beer money. That's all there is. And if you can't afford to live up here, you can't afford to live up here. Mm-hmm. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. And I have a real sour spot in my whole being about taking money from one thing and trying to help other people, right? It's like, ain't nobody helping me, right? Mm-hmm. I have to help myself. Right, so if I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing, I don't have anybody else to blame.
Right.
And so I mean, I have a real sore spot there about how we're gonna put the bite on the people that are trying to make business in this county, and we're gonna give it to low-income housing. I mean, I don't feel quite as bad about the child care, but at the end of the day, it's one of them things too. I didn't get your wife pregnant, man. Not my fault that you got kids that you can't take care of. It's not my responsibility. I didn't do it to you. I didn't put you in that position. You should be able to take care of yourself.
Right. And Steve, I completely understand where you're coming from. And being a conservative, you know, on the finance side of the house, it's difficult for me to really see, this is a quandary for me. And there's something I read, it's the founding of the Republican Party. It goes back to Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln was among the very first people that said, the government will only, I can't remember how it was written, but the government has an obligation to those who can't help themselves. But I think he was talking about military, you know, creating military, creating a department out, agriculture, all the different agencies that he created, that the Republican Party created back in the late 1850s, early 1860s. Mm-hmm. are some things already in place for those who are destitute, for those who social welfare, and that's already available for a lot of folks. But there are some very good folks in the county, hardworking people that do have to leave their kids with a daycare, and I get that. That's kind of the nature of the beast. I think if anything, a lodging tax should go towards not so much tourism, because Steve, like you were saying, if you're a business owner, you're going to put out your own advertising for folks to come in and take on your product, or come in and take your service. The affordable housing, I think we already have pretty inexpensive housing in some places in the county. At grandma's, my wife and I own grandma's. I think we have some quite low, very low.
Absolutely.
Rent, and we've got good folks over there, and they pay rent, they pay it on time, and there are other places here in the county that do the same thing. So I'm not quite sure how much help they really need. Again, that's something that's going to take some research and somebody to provide hard numbers, empirical evidence. And that's something that Stacy was able to do last week, because she was able to provide empirical numbers and empirical evidence on certain things. And because of that, I think if any of those deserve any kind of consideration, would be somebody who can articulate the problem well and truly show a need. And obviously, people that can't afford to live here are going to have to move elsewhere where cost of living is cheaper. I'm not quite sure where that is in Colorado, but it should be available elsewhere. And it's hard to say, again, because you lose some good people in the county. So any kind of taxes it really just puts a bad taste in my mouth. If there are other ways to accomplish the same thing, again, you talk about grants. Well, grants, that's just pulling taxpayers' money from the state. That's our tax money that we pay to the state, and the state can't even balance its own budget now. So,
that's really getting back to, because what you start, that whole the start of that conversation is quite admirable, and it is true. And on the flip side of that, you have, I'm going to call it the bureaucrats that have their fingers in the pie. So when the low-income housing comes in here, they're not going to take that whole amount. And same with the grants, right? The grants, the administrative cost of these grants chews up the whole. The bureaucrats are eating all the money here, folks. That's the problem, right? So do you know how much the tax is? The 2% lodging tax generates almost $100,000 a year.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
And now you want to kick it on up to $300,000?
So where I go with this is, whatever the government can do, the private sector can do 10 times better, more efficient. So if we recognize that we have a situation, that situation needs to be put out to the public, saying, hey folks, you guys,
well, yeah, because
get a business program put together, and let's.
At the end of the day, a house costs the raw cost is the raw cost. It's going to cost X amount no matter what, right? And so to try to say that you're going to get a grant to pay for this, we know better than that, because at the end of the day, the grant doesn't make the wood free.
No. What it really does is water down the taxpayers' money. So now you've taken the money out of the private sector. You've put it into the government's hands. 90% of that money goes into the administrative cost in creating government jobs, which really is an insult to the republic. Whereas opposed to if you said, look, we have a shortage in affordable housing, and the private sector needs to step up, and you just bring that to their attention. The private sector generally has a capitalistic desire to make that happen. Whether it's for the police department, say we put, say we hire some the deputies are, we got to live down in Pueblo or Canyon or whatever. We go, well, wait a minute. We actually have a house in the north, the south, the east, the west, and we're going to distribute you the housing. That's going to be part of your this is what you were talking about, looking outside the box.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Go ahead.
We could design it where, and this is just a small example of how the private sector could, and the banker,
The problem is the banker understands the hard math of it. He's not going to give his money away. They understand that the cost of the house is the cost of the house, and the left try to make it sound like it's going to be free, it's going to be affordable. It's not. It still costs just as much as, no matter who's footing the bill. The cost is what it is. The board costs what the board cost. That is just hard set numbers. And to try
you kind of interrupted me on my way through all of this. So that the tax advantage to individuals that said, hey, I'll come in and do the plumbing for free. I'll come in and do the concrete for free. I'm the batch plant. I'll supply the concrete for free. What's the advantage of them doing that? It keeps their taxes down. It keeps the outgo of the people that are being hired to be public servants to a minimum. So wait a minute, and it's self-serving, not only for one employee.
So basically, what you're doing is cutting it off at the point. Instead of having to pay tax, go to the state, then get a grant, come back around. You're talking about just getting a tax break because they donate the material.
Boom,
and it makes perfect sense to me. So why isn't everybody doing it?
Because it's outside. Wait a minute, it's outside of the box, and it takes free men thinking out loudly and publicly making it in verbal.
I would imagine that most of the people, I mean, there might be some guys that would be willing to, but if I had a lot of money, I would still feel the same way, right? If you can't take care of yourself, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I don't even want you up here.
I don't even want you up here.
Right. So as a fact facer and a person has watched, I've been here since 1962. I've been watching stuff, how inflation and how the manipulation with the Federal Reserve has caused a lot of destruction in this country. Things are up, things are down, interest rates are up, interest rates are down. And they're trying to manipulate the economy as opposed to, we probably really didn't need to do a lot of that. We needed to just let it kind of happen on its own. But they've been able to dictate. Anyways, that's a whole nother science and a whole another conversation. What I'm getting at is when you're only able to pay a deputy $25,000 or $30,000, if you could say, look, we provide housing for you, you could draw a higher caliber individual. Now, don't get me wrong.
You could.
It is absolutely happening the way you're saying in the natural realm, and I love that. The natural realm, the cream rises to the top.
Somebody still has to pay. Who is going to take it? Here's
as a businessman, it'd be a tax write-off for me.
Here's a scenario. Okay, so there's a bunch of little kids and parents that can't afford daycare. So why don't you open up a daycare? Well, the gal says, well, I can't because I can't afford to. I have to make money, and that's the root of it all. People can't afford to ride other people riding their back.
You're right. And absolutely, that's exactly what it comes down to. So anytime you get the government involved in social programs, whether it's daycare, low-income housing, you're going to have this discussion. And that's the contrast of the high and the low. And to be able to compromise with that.
And that's the definition of socialism, right? That's really what it is, folks. I mean, that is what it is. You're going to take this money and give it to somebody that can't afford something in life. That's what, and the government's going to pay for it, right? That's what socialism is.
Well, in the worst part about that, Stephen, is by the time it's administered, by the time that money is collected from the taxpayer, and then that three-letter whatever non-governmental agency is developed, the administration is going to take 90% of that that taxpayers' money, and it's diluted. That's why I was saying if we could cut to the chase and still be somewhat of a...
So oddly enough, I was thinking the same thing when you were talking about it, and that's why I was so able to say.
Absolutely, brother.
But here's the thing with that, right? It sounds good. I'm sure the guys that own the batch plant, they would be like, I'm sure they would rather give free concrete away to somebody than pay tax. That most people would, right?
There's an incentive.
But the bureaucrats ain't going to go for that. The people that are getting the tax money that are wanting to be the bureaucrat and put their finger in the pie and take 3/4 of the pie, they're not going to go for it. And that's the war that we're in. Trying to shut the money off to these lefties, man, is the problem. And just look at USAID and all of this stuff. Trying to get the money shut off. We can't even get Bill Canada shut off. Still, we're going to raise your property tax to try to match a grant to get the Justice Center? Come on, man. We're over your ass, man.
So here again, yeah, I mean, these are issues, but I think we have enough tenacity and enough will to combat what you just said. I think Taylor brings a lot to the plate on thinking outside the box. I think we, as a community, we can figure all this out.
I think we can too. And here's another thing that I think that's happened to us. It's a timing thing, right? It's time. It's time for the change. Most of coming up to this point, people haven't been ready. They've been thinking that something needs to change, but they ain't just fed up with it enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you go to the grocery store and you get one armload of groceries for $100, man. When you used to, I remember when I was a little kid, my mom would take $200 to Pueblo and she would buy enough food for the whole month for a family of 4.
Yeah.
There's no chance for that these days, right? I mean, you can't even hardly go into, if you're going to buy a whole grocery cart full, you're talking $500, $600, $700, man.
Thanks to inflation over the years, and uncontrolled inflation, which we've, come close to a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, that's been squashed at this point. But, Jimmy, you mentioned something about, we've got a house down here, we've got a place over here, that we can house a deputy, we can house this person, that person. It's interesting because that's what the Swatch Ranger District does. They have a couple of places in town that they house a couple of their, I call them all rangers, even though there's only one ranger per the district. But they house folks just down the road from the district office, and I'm sure they pay some kind of a small rent, but it's perfect. I mean, if we've got places like that here, if people are willing to put a deputy up, in the back house. I mean, who wouldn't want a Magnum PI living in their backyard? That's great.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. Dispersion, and that was
exactly.
just a small example, and then not only that, but. Yeah, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but
a
yeah.
Great point that you made there, though. The other thing I wanted to say too is, and I remember your dad was alluding to it at the first meeting that we had, was this county was built upon community. When, who was it? The first people that came out here, Zebulon Pike, and Kit Carson, they came out, they discovered the land, and then shortly after them, people on their own. The government didn't move out here and start creating regulations here, regulations there. It was the people, community that came out. They built community. They built Rosita. They built Silvercliff. They built Westcliff. All the different the different areas that pulled people in for the silver mining, the gold mining. It was all built on community money, not taxes, not, government didn't come out here and build, affordable housing for folks. It was just
individuals as a community.
It came organically, and obviously times change, but this county was built on community with people coming together and helping each other out. The ranchers, back in the day, your dad and Uncle David and my dad, they all loved working together and getting on the tractors and cutting the hay and rounding up cattle and whatnot. That was a blast. That was a lot of fun. We were all family. And, that to me is what built this county. And, we're seeing a lot of it change, and I think a lot of people are coming out here because they want that same thing. Well, that same thing might not be here anymore. And there are ranchers that have been here in the valley for decades, and the property just isn't there to be able to really do that. So, here we have a group coming in from Denver thinking they're going to purchase property throughout the county, at at market rate, whatever that is. I don't know how they're going to do that unless they pull some kind of eminent domain thing. I've heard about, the eminent domain thing, threatening people that live right up against the national forest
Yep.
because it's for the betterment of the society. Well, it's my property. You're not going to build a road through my property. Guess again.
Try that in a small town.
So, so it's,
Well, and so them are all.
didn't mean to change the subject.
No,
but
no,
that's,
we need to get on that
something
because that is a big
that's
issue because
troubling
we
me
got
a
it.
little bit.
We've got definite.
And them are all, these are all really good points, but let me get to this before I forget.
Yeah.
The problem is our elected officials go behind our back. What did you just say? You went to the meeting and you hear them bring up the Justice Center after you thought that it had been.
Yeah, I thought
Everybody that I talked to in this whole county, a lot of pretty influential, I maybe influential isn't the right word, but upstanding, hardworking taxpayers, right? A lot of just good common folks that are like, what do you mean the Justice Center? We already voted that down twice. And here they are undermining our integrity, trying to be all hush hush and trying to pass it through again against our will.
Right.
That is the part where I think people have getting people are getting fed up enough, and it's coming to light enough. We're at a perfect time here to actually really bust them, right? To break their balls on this deal, because all we have to do is rally the troops. And we need, it takes some time and it takes some effort, and we have to go about it in the right way. But I mean, the list of registered Republican is like 2,000. There's like 2,000 registered Republicans in this county,
Wow.
right?
Out of how many?
Out of 5,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, to be able to have each one of them understand what is going on, that to me is one of the biggest things, is they don't realize what's happening. They don't see it coming. They're about to get blindsided by, it's like you thought you knocked this opponent down. You thought he was down for the count, but while you got your back turned, he's about to get your ass.
And Steve, you really provoke something in me when you say that. And I think about the PCP, the precinct people. That's where the consolidation of the voice of the people is first made. That's a consolidation of the voice of the people is through those precinct people. Why there isn't an outreach and an email generated? There's 2 precinct people in each precinct.
Well, and we've had this
So
discussion.
we've
a
had
lot.
this discussion, but here again, it's very revealing that these issues are so available
It's kind.
that they don't have an outreach and saying this is an alert. So when here it's a telltale sign when you don't do that, when you don't generate that email list and that outreach program.
You mean you're not representing me like you're supposed to?
That means wait a minute, that in itself, I just do 2 + 2 or 1 + 1. I don't care how you want to slice it. That tells me that you're not trying to get the community involved.
I totally agree. And
You are trying to hide and cabal things to the point where you're going to manage it and you know what's best for the rest of the people.
Well, and Taylor brought up a real good point earlier. It's all about, and ultimately there's no consequence. So why there's no penalty, there's no consequence, there's no nothing, because there's nothing. There's no wrongdoing down there.
So there again, that's why it's
So
a
let-
republic. So
yeah.
we have to fix it at the ballot box, number one. Electing somebody that's going to properly be engaged in protecting the voice of the people and being fiscally responsible. I mean, letting that dollar say, hey, if this was my dollar, what would I do with it? How would I spend it? Not like, well, we can't really fire this person because he knows what we did. We're going to have to keep him out.
And yeah, and all of that is super super important and the truth, but even back to the little bitty puddle jumper, which is the Custer County Republican Central Committee.
Oh,
right?
buddy.
They don't hardly have any authority. They get a chance to pick people. Ultimately, the people pick the people. The only real authority they have is if something would happen to one of the commissioners, they will vote on who would be the replacement till a general election.
Any elected official.
It's just the commissioners.
Is it just the commissioners?
Just the commissioners, because the commissioners have it on everybody else. So it's just the 3 commissioners.
Got it.
They don't replace the treasurer or anything
right.
like that. The commissioners
Because
would
the
do that.
commissioners would replace the coroner.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got that squared away.
Yes. So that's the case. That's what Jack told me.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but the fact of the matter, though, of why they try so hard to keep that hidden is just like the Justice Center. We can tell that the people are running it have ulterior motives. And it's you, Ann. We're coming for you. You can't hide it anymore, girl. We got you. We got you. We know what you're doing. We know that you took money, cash money from Mike Haga to do the Justice Center deal, the ground. We know that.
You mean the convicted felon, Mike Hick?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was he convicted on?
Tell them.
Same stuff.
Yep.
So here again, it's a pattern of behavior. It's not like Steve and Jimmy are out here trying
You can't make this stuff up, man.
Hollywood couldn't make this up. I mean, we should call, one of them Hollywood producers and say, look, we got a little story for you. You ain't even gonna believe this one. But at the end of the day, it is very far-fighting. But you have a small group of people pushing their agenda. How did the school get to where the school was at? How did the school get to be, we're gonna have 1,000 students? Where did that bond come from? Where did all that investigate? Where did all that insight come from? Where did all those projections come from for the school that's built now? That's a good question for people out there. I know where it came from. I know the people that have ran this county when we weren't looking.
Yeah, and back to the school deal, Ed, my buddy Ed Mockenstern, he has an architectural degree. He offered to engineer that whole school for free. And they said, oh, no, oh, hell no. We're already paying somebody to do it.
We already got a backdoor deal already now.
Just like what Lanerigo with trying to fix the books.
He come in, he's volunteering.
No, we can't have that. We got all this figured out. You can't see what we're doing. Lynn, you're after power. Really?
What was in it for him?
Yeah, he's not going to gain financially. He's not gaining a position with the county. He's not gaining anything except for getting the book straight.
And he's the taxpayer. And he, to me, here again, those are suspicious,
and then
unreasonable behaviors.
And then back to the little pole jumper. And then so when he goes to the CCRCC, Nancy Drummond sues him, threatens him with a lawsuit, and then they get sued by the state because they don't have the tracer stuff in line.
Like Lenny said.
But he's going to get sued because we don't like what you say. You're being mean to us.
Cost him $1,000 to defend himself.
I'm pretty sure that was quite a bit more than that.
That's very odd. Very odd.
So here again, you're getting thrown into a hell of a ringer here. And Steve and I are sitting here spouting off the things that we have experienced and had to tread through, and it was very laborious.
Gonna sue somebody that is a member of the Republican Party. Gonna sue him because he offered to help. Because the chair asked him to help, so he did help, and the damn treasurer is gonna sue him.
I mean, it's just about as bizarre as you can.
You're being mean to me. And that's like their only recourse. What were we talking about earlier? That a lefty can't have a logical conversation. They can't have a debate because they don't know anything. All they're running off of is emotions, and there's nothing there. You're gonna hurt my feelings. Really? That's all you got? Jeez.
Yeah. No, I hear you, Steve.
So it's a hell of a mess.
There's something else I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, and I've been visiting both the town hall meetings, and I visited 2 of those. One was last night, one was a couple months ago.
Westcliff
Town Hall.
Have you been to the Silver Cliff Dog and Pony Show?
No.
Okay.
I went to the Westcliff one.
No,
last
save that
night.
for
That's the
dessert.
one we were talking about last night. Was
got it.
Westcliff, but I did go to the Custer County Commissioners meeting last week, and found them. Every time I've been, it's been fascinating to see how government works, and the people that come up and have, give presentations, and there was I've seen some well done presentations. First Stacy Terrell, and then Bob Wolf gave an interesting presentation, did a really good job, although I think his efforts, we'll see where they go. But
What did he have a presentation about, Taylor?
Bob Wolf he has I think he's a member of the Dark Skies Project. I think he either owns or runs the telescope.
Oh,
It's right down
the
here.
observatory.
The observatory.
Yep,
The observatory.
gotcha.
And very bright individual. Again, gave a very good presentation. He had some examples of some lighting that the high school football stadium, I guess, was one of their great examples of how lighting can be done. And from what I understand, the big issue is the
Rodeo grounds.
The rodeo grounds. And look, the rodeo grounds have been there for years. Trying to turn their lights off, I
Well,
really
yeah,
don't
and
think that'll happen. But
And it isn't like they're trying to do it all night long.
no, and I know they're trying to get them to. There's always a better way of doing things, right? But when it costs money to do things, and you don't want to spend the money, I don't know how many, couple $100,000 to replace all those lights. If they don't have the money, what are you going to do? You can't. Not just going to say, okay, we're going to cut the rodeo off now. So it's, if you really think they need more lights or different lights, give them the money.
There you
Give
go.
them the money to make it happen. I'm sure they'd be happy to take your money and
There you go.
And
do
comply.
whatever. Right, and that's the other thing.
And comply.
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about is regulations. And during all these meetings, I hear regulation this, regulation that. Well, let's look it up in the book here. What regulation is this? And there's just so many regulations, it just chokes people out, especially people who want to create businesses, and come into town and oh, well, I'd like to do this here, I'd like to do that there. It's just, it's suffocating. And a lot of these regulations just there are some that just needs to disappear, and, I get it, with people coming into town, you get people from all walks of life, and folks are like, I don't like it loud over here, or I don't like it's too bright over there. And, there are plenty of other places to go view the stars. We have talked about that before. And I understand, the observatory over here, is impacted by a certain amount of light. But, if you live in the city and if you have a business in the city, there was a comment in last night's meeting that, Mr. Wolf, have you planned for the future? 20 years from now, how is your observatory going to be affected? Because you're probably going to have all kinds of businesses moving into that side of town. Goes 20 years? I think it's not going to be 20 years. It's probably going to be 5 years from now that, people come in and start building and whatnot. So, but stamping people with regulations is just not the right way to go about trying to get your point across, or trying to force people into a certain way of doing things.
Well, yeah, because if you knew light was going to be a problem, why'd you build it in town?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ground around out here
Yeah.
you could easily have put that observatory somewhere else besides right in town, and then worry about the light pollution.
So I always come out of left field sometimes about what I think and what drives people. And here again, you've got all these, they got the little bitty star things up. You know what I'm saying? Look at this here. This is Saturn, and this is what it does. And that's all fine and dandy. It's probably educational. But
Absolutely.
if you know about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, dark skies is a big part of that. Most people don't understand that, but you need to look into it. It's all over Google. You can look it up yourself. I'm not going to dwell on it. If you have a desire to find out what you're up against, that's one of the things you need to look at. dark skies is fine. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, the darker the area is, the better the stars come out.
Yep. We all want dark skies,
But
but
there's-
at the
but-
expense of.
But there's not only a financial expense, there's a spiritual expense. So look into that. I'm not going to dwell on it at all. What it still comes down to is will against will. This place is a predominant cattle country, hay country.
Yeah, you take it back 100 years ago. People appreciated light during the dark.
Oh, Squire would tell you. I mean, out there on the road grader moving snow in pitch black, he was like, man, that was everything. Every time I could see that city light, I was grateful.
Yeah.
And he gave up and gave his testimony 7 or 10 years ago in the courthouse saying, I don't know what you people are talking about. Have you ever been out on a dark night?
With no car and
With
broke down,
nothing
and you can hear the coyotes howling, and
Yeah. So
you know
anyways,
you don't have a gun.
at the end of the day, you have delusional people wanting unreasonable, and everything I'm going to talk
The
about
Justice Center.
everything I'm going to talk about is what would a reasonable person have done in the position of decision making on behalf of the constituents. And if you start looking at the decisions that have been made and the votes that have been taken with the commissioners that have been in place, the last 7 years, it is very disturbing on how they came or derived to the decisions that they did. It didn't look to me like it had anything to do with the voice of the people. It looked to me like it had some agenda-driven backdoor deals going on. And it's all audio and video. There's 400 and some videos of this stuff. Or 500 now. I don't know what it is. But anyways, it's a ledger of decision making and how they took votes and the discussions and how it all happened. And they boldly did it right in front of God and everybody. But it's all there. And it's very disturbing. Some of it's extremely disturbing on the decisions that have been made. Why were they made? From my point of view. And my point of view is I came here not to change the zoning. I didn't come here to change the zoning. 80 acres on the valley floor, the 5 acres over here, the 35 acres over there. I thought, man, whoever did that was genius. Those people understood about not crowding and choking and polluting the water. That was common sense at its finest. Common sense. It was just absolutely wise planning and thinking ahead for the future generation of this land and how this ecosystem has evolved and how delicate it is. I came here to enhance that. I came here to say, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I don't want a Vale or a Breckenridge. I don't want that. If I wanted that, I could have went there.
Right. And here's the problem that we really face, right, is we're not fighting an enemy, or we're not fighting another kingdom that has reasoning ability. These people are mentally ill. That they are, because they don't understand the concept of reality. When you think a man can have a child, you're no longer a sane human being. You have a warped sense of what reality is. And so we're over here trying to figure out how we're going to, Jimmy explains it pretty well, kingdom on kingdom. We're fighting an enemy that will not reason with you.
No. No. They're not going to, first and foremost, they're going to check the language. You're going to have to go with their language. They're going to initiate the narrative. So they're going to get you involved in a conversation that really never should have been a non-issue. But they're almost, and I call it retard strong, and I'm not taking away from any person that's mentally challenged at all. I'm just saying it is, these people have got to, and I don't know how else to put it, they're extremely, they're hell-bent. They're completely decided that that's going to happen. And I think they're already putting the road in for the low-income housing. I already think the water taps are getting ready to be established.
I see them spreading a bunch of dirt right along the
So here
highway.
again, they're taking our money and using it against us, against our will, because there's a small handful of people. We don't represent your kind, Jimmy. Well, what kind? Who are you representing? What is the voice you're representing? Are these people paying you something? Are you compromised? Are you just trying to piss me off? Well, what are you really doing here? Where is your transparency, your openness, and your honesty that is required when you're a public servant?
Well, yeah.
How come you can't freely speak, but when somebody shows up to your commissioner meeting, I watched them buckle down. They took issues off. They were going to talk about issues, and they buckled it down. They were like, no, we'll talk about that later because these other people are here, and we don't want to get... They might ask a question or two, because the answer is always in the question. The answer is always in the question to these people, and that's where we're failing as a republic. We're not asking the right questions at the right time to find out what's in their heart and what's making them tick. We don't do it, and it's a simple question. That's our First Amendment, is the question.
Well, and at this point, I think that we have done that. We do know what makes Bill Canada tick. He's not mentally capable of actually representing the constituents at this point. His suspender snapping has overcome his judgment. That is just the way that it is. When I hear things through the background, people are coming at me like, well, I hear the zoning regulations are going to change and we got to stop all this and we got to stop them. And I'm thinking to myself, why would Bill Canada want to change the zoning regulations? There's only one reason in the whole world why he would want to, and that is he's going to gain financially. He's got to gain somehow, or otherwise, why would he do it? Right? So why would they come in and change the zoning regulations? Why would they do that? They got to be they have to be benefiting from it somehow. I mean, are you telling me they have a pretty nice? It doesn't belong to Bill, but it belongs to his. I think they're cousins. Rock and Bob and Bob Jr. or Robert Jr. I mean, that's a pretty good solid piece of ground, and there's houses all the way around that son of a gun. The Amish is on two sides of that, and then we're on the other side. And then they're on Horn Lane or Horn Road borders on that other side. But why would you want to split up something unless it's for money? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no other. Why would you split your ground up if you weren't getting paid?
And I'm gonna amplify that unreasonable type of mentality. Why would you say the creek's already somewhat polluted? Let's go ahead and take the toxic waste from the two towns and pour it out there, and even make it more so. Yeah. So you have a this individual is demented.
Well,
there's a reason.
Did he get paid on that too?
And here again, and he was mad because Dorothy. Wait a minute,
mad.
That's why Dorothy got let go, because she's the one that let the cat out the bag.
He was mad.
Damn right. They were extremely. All three of them people. Oh, we're investigating, and I said it's a non-issue, boys. I said you cannot put. There's no nutritional value. There's no fertilizer value. It's all toxic. You can't pour that in an ecosystem that we've been protecting. And you guys are going to debate that? That's a non-starter. That's not even up for discussion.
That's interesting because, Bill Canada's an exceptionally bright man, I'm sure. I mean, he was a retired Air Force colonel. And certainly appreciate his service. But
engineering degree as well.
Okay, well, there you go. Proves
every
point.
bit of the common sense has been extracted.
And his family has been here since the 1870s. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's been a rancher or not, but I'm sure he spent the majority of his career, his life in the military. But his family, I'm sure, knew, like you, Steve, and you, Jimmy, you know how to treat the land better than anybody else does. And instead of making a decision based upon a lack of knowledge, think outside the box and go to those people who know the answers and say, is this the right thing to do? And don't be afraid to do that, because
See, that would be reasonable.
nobody has all the answers.
Yeah, but that would be reasonable. See, that tactic, that attitude and personality would be a reasonable. That would be
person.
that would be a reasonable. I don't even know. I mean, we're talking about stuff that what were we talking? It's so obvious. We talk about the obvious, and it's a strain for people. But we're talking about things that we shouldn't.
It's because
these
they
are
have
not-
ulterior motives, though.
Right.
We're trying to compare ourselves to them, and we already know that they're mentally compromised. They have no reasoning ability. That's why you can't hold a debate with a liberal, because they don't have any basis of what they're talking about.
Well, and here again, I just don't know what kingdom they're serving or who they're serving. Who do they really serve?
I don't want to believe that's the truth.
I don't either.
But again, when you think you have all the answers, is the first.
That's a real problem.
That's a huge problem,
Yes.
because nobody, as a single individual, has all the answers. Collectively, there's the answer. Again, you have to pull the right people in
So here
to make that
again,
decision, and is that being done?
right? And
That's
here
what
again,
needs to happen.
I am a debatable person. I mean, I can come and I can look at things, different things at different perspectives and give and take and understand. But there's also that.
Yeah.
There's that. And once you start trampling on that, we got a problem.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. So,
Right.
when you get out of the rules and you start talking about taking my God-given rights by introducing wolves and talking about this and that, now you got a problem.
And for me, right, in my world, I want to be right. And most of the time I am right. But I'm not always right, but I always want to be right.
Absolutely.
And so if I'm not right, then show me the way.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Show me where I'm wrong, so we
Absolutely.
can all push harder in the same direction. If I was wrong,
You know,
I'll be
and-
the first
and-
one
and-
to say, oh, perfect, man. Sorry about that. Let's go. Right?
And Steve, that's where it comes down to a good man loves instruction, but a fool despises his soul. See, I'm going to go back to Scripture. That's all I can do because it makes the most sense to me. And it really boils things down, and it really calls things out. A good man loves instruction. Tell me. Let me know if I'm making a mistake. I will embrace it. Thank you. I love you for that. But a fool goes, go yourself and don't
I know
down the
more than
road.
you do.
So you know what I mean? And that's where they're stiff-necked and arrogance, and that's where they're so hell-bent against what's right and good.
And that basically, gentlemen, is the reason why people are still killing each other today over religion. No, what I'm right. No, I'm right. No, well, hell, let's go for it then. We'll just keep killing each other and keep killing each other.
That's why I love the wisdom of Solomon, because he just laid it right out there. I love this story about the two women. There was a baby, and they were going, "Oh, it's my baby." No, it's my baby. And King Solomon said, "Well, let's just cut the little sucker in half." Well, the real mammy said, "No, I'd much rather my baby be alive and in her arms than my half-dead baby in mine."
Yep.
So these are just reasonable things, and it causes. As a young man, I read that, and I got saturated with it, and it's been my guide my entire life. I got saturated with that. In every thought and blink of my eye, I'm thinking like that. That's why this day is so hard on me. It's very difficult for me to see this people so blatantly abuse the trust of the people. When you're a trustee, and you get this, you get to be when you're elected. People are saying, "I trust you." How honorable.
Yep.
That is incredibly honorable.
Absolutely.
But it also comes with these hidden values where you're held to a higher standard. And when those are starting to be depleted in front of me, and I watch people in those elected positions abuse that.
And there's something that's funny, you're bringing up a lot of good points, Jimmy and Steve. And this brings me back. I have a very good friend that just came out a few weeks ago. And I think you met Phil.
Yeah,
And
great guy.
Phil's a deep thinker. Phil is a warrior of God. And I'm in my journey with God. I'm with Jesus. I'm learning every day and learning new things. But something my friend told me is he said, when you make a decision, there's something called the spiritual test, I think is what he termed it. And that is, when you make a decision, are you helping yourself or are you serving God? Meaning, are you serving God and his people? Or are you just making this decision
In
just
selfishness.
to improve yourself?
Yeah, is it a selfish thing?
And I thought about that, and I was just saying, that's very profound. And that's something that, I can't even fathom. If you're making decisions for other, that's going to affect others' lives, why would you take that decision and make it for yourself?
At their cost.
To me, it's at their cost.
At their cost.
Or at your benefit and not theirs.
There you go. You
And
advantage one and disadvantage the other.
And that right there, Taylor,
That's
is the
huge.
answer. It's the benefit.
That's the answer.
How is Bill benefiting from this? How is Ann benefiting?
That's why.
Why
So
are
even
they
if it was
not
just
believe that?
ego, and here again, it's hard for a reasonable person to try to conclude what is in their heart. What is it? Malice? Is there something there? Is it just avoided? Is it ego that needs to be fed? Is it the name on the building? How did they come up with that money? The money scam to buy the property. How did all that happen? There should be minutes and traces. There should be minutes and discussions. There should be
nothing.
and there's zero.
It's
That is such a suspicious environment that was created that is completely by unreasonable people. And then Bill says, I negotiated. And then Ann said, I negotiated it. And the person they're negotiating it with is a convicted felon.
And all the stuff, all the stuff is up at Bill Canada's office when it's supposed to be at the courthouse.
Miss Kelly, I'd like to get I'd like to get all the paperwork on the Justice Center. It's just $20-40 million deal. Well, Jimmy, I don't have any of it. Jimmy, I don't have nothing. I said, Kelly Camper, listen, hon, I just asked for the paperwork on a $40 million development that the county's doing in the county, and you're going to tell me you have no paperwork on it. Yeah, that's right, Jimmy, I don't have nothing. Now, if that's not just a barn burner, and then I call Lucas because he's new in there. Hey, Lucas, you got any idea what's taking place here? Oh, I'm down in the basement, and guess what, Jimmy? I just ran across this pamphlet of something that has to do with the Justice Center. I said, well, if you would take it up to Kelly and let Kelly have it so she'll have some notes.
And that, Taylor, that's what we gave you.
Yes.
So
I still have that.
that was the only document that has come out of the courthouse about the Justice Center.
Other than what Bill sent me.
That's a golden piece of material.
Other than what Bill sent Miss Anderson and myself that he had at his house.
So
they
what was
emailed
that, though?
me that. I'll need to print it all out and show you what it is. And Kelly needs to have all of that. And I don't know if Miss Anderson printed that out and gave it to Kelly for her.
And
So that the public can see what happened with their business.
Why would Bill?
It was all at his office.
Why would he not send that straight to Kelly? Because all he's trying to do is get you off of his collar. Here, Jimmy, here, you go away. Here's,
See what I'm saying?
Here's a little bit of this information. Leave me alone. Here.
Yeah, go on. Get your loud mouth
But
out of here. I had enough of your question asking.
You won't even follow SOPs. You won't even follow internal controls. Internal controls, it's Colorado Open Records Act, man. That is our business. Why doesn't the clerk have that business?
So the public outcry is what I'm going to shoot for. All this nonsense has taken place, and the unreasonable decisions and behavior that's taken place needs to be published and needs to be absolutely lined out so that everybody can see it. I know we're all Christians and we're loving people, but in a republic, in a free country that is emanated right after the Bible, the Constitution, as well as the Bible, they go hand in hand. All of that is hand in hand. It's a golden rule. It's the law of what's right and what's wrong. Every bit of that is joined together in the Declaration. I mean, it's right there.
Right.
All that's blended together.
Right.
We need to do an expose of all of the crazy behavior. I guess I do. You guys can stay out of it or whatever, but I have it tracked and I have it, and it's crazy when you start looking at it. It's like there's so much. This is a constant deal.
What we really need to do,
But the
is
public
try-
needs to know.
and first things first, is the Justice Center and the ballot. It's only a month and a half till November. And they're trying to raise our property tax to pay for the Justice Center again, and nobody knows about this.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
So-
how
so
do you
rather
how do
than-
you keep that from people? Why would you stifle the people with that kind of?
So
And you're saying, what you're saying is there's no documentation on this
none.
at all?
Go ask her. Go ask Kelly Camper. Tell her you want to see all the documentation about the Justice Center.
What's the date today?
So
17th. So we got one more meeting here in town or in Wetmore, maybe two.
Today was the meeting.
Today was the meeting, but next Wednesday, I'm going to encourage people, you need to be there because I'm going to do everything I can to possibly be there because I have some questions. And I want to get it on the docket. I want to go and look at the little gal and say, ma'am, I need to get this on the docket. We wanted a little bit of question and answer time with the commissioners to kind of get the air cleared here. We want to get the air cleared. That's all we're doing. And we're going to need an hour of your time. There's going to be 10 or 15 of us here.
Because
And we need to just get it done.
The thing is there. So Lucas, right? So back before he lied to the old man about the low-income housing, I got him on the horn, and I was going over quite a few things that I thought was important. And I asked him, I said, Lucas, why are they still doing the Justice Center after the people voted down? He said, well, we're trying to get it cut down so it's only be $7 million.
Well, there's also that other backdoor deal where they can get financing from private people as opposed to a bond issue or
Well,
whatever
it's-
that was.
Well, it's so they can't get private financing. What they would do is have a private individual foot the bill, and then get a permanent lease.
Right.
That's what they call cops, and I can't remember just how that.
Yeah. So that's another way they get around.
They did
the
that in
people's voice.
Montrose.
They did it in Montrose. That's why Montrose is so adamant about keeping that outdoor thing out. They're like, you got us on this dude. You guys duped us here, but it ain't happening again. We played your game the first go around. Well, we haven't played these people's game yet. We haven't fallen prey to them. We've almost.
So here's the honorary part, right? Is how do we get the word out? I mean, and I don't know the people from the new paper, but I know the new owners were instrumental in the whole thing with the Justice Center in the first place. So are they going to be non-biased and print this information as it should be? Or are we going to have to basically go door to door and knock on every Republican's door and tell them this is what's going on? You can't trust the papers. You can't trust the commissioners.
So I did spend a little bit of time with Jordan Hedberg that owns the Wet Mountain Trib today. And we had pretty good conversation on the concerns that we have for the future of the valley. And some of this stuff, he says it's nonsense. And he's very agreeable. He's more of a libertarian, I think. I mean, here again, Jordan's his own man. I'm not going to... But we did have some conversation. There was a good hour of talking.
Debate? I mean, open talking. I mean, that's...
Well, here
that's
again,
you, Jimmy.
Yeah, and here again, and I love to debate. Number one, it helps me purify my thoughts, and it gets me to define what I'm thinking about. And it also hopefully helps the other side define exactly what they're talking about. So in the debate, we purify each other. And that's the keenness about debate. But what pisses me off the worst is when the West Cliff Institute, that was the only forum that we had for the public officials to talk. We couldn't even ask them a question.
This is because of the CCRCC said there will be no debate.
I set the ball and you just spiked it. Here again, they fell prey to that liberal organization. The Republican people.
I don't think they fell prey to it. I think they orchestrated it.
Okay, now you took it one step, you took it a degree deeper while we're talking about it. Because on the first part of it, I'm thinking there's no way they would have orchestrated that. They're not in bed with them people. Ooh, Jimmy, you little stupid butt. They are. They're all in bed together, and it's all about some other agenda that I don't know about. I guess I'm just in the dark about you'll own nothing and like it. We don't need anybody living out here in the country. We need everybody in the county, in the cities, and they need to be eating bugs. And as far-ficknugan as that sounds, that may be what we're battling. That mentality and that conviction of where climate change and we got to get everybody, nobody, you own nothing and you're going to like it, and you eat bugs. That's Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. It's published. It's their plan for humanity. And if you think that's not in people up here, you got another thing coming, because it is absolutely spawned in people. That if we don't do it, the world's going to blow up.
Well, does it apply to everybody, including themselves?
Yeah,
Or,
that's how bizarre they are.
see, that's, I mean, how many...
We're both on this side of the limb. Let's just keep sawing it off. So here again, it's very unreasonable. And Steve hit the nail on the head. They're not thinking with a sound mind. And that's why they don't want to debate. That's why they say, oh, no, you're hurting my feelings. You got to shut up. You're not agreeing with me. You have to shut up. You're not being politically correct. You have to stifle your speech because you didn't agree with me. I've been involved in that.
Right.
I've been involved in that.
God bless Charlie Kirk, man.
Hey, man, I'm telling you.
He was changing the world and still is.
And we are too.
Yep, absolutely.
We are Charlie.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And
So yeah, that's absolutely it.
It's funny because a few weeks back, I think it was Hans. In fact, both of you were there. He mentioned at one of the meetings. He said he gets the feeling, and Hans has been. He spent what 6 months on the president's campaign.
On the Trump deal, yeah.
Yep. And he has this feeling in all the reading he's done and the people he's talked to. There's a momentum moving across the United States that is just this.
It is.
It's people like you and Steve getting out and speaking openly without fear of being, censored or and some of the idiots that are being censored, Jimmy Kimmel, everybody heard about him, but when you start coming down improperly on somebody that was murdered, assassinated, of course, that's an issue that's going to get you hacked. But all these people that have nothing good to say or happy that Charlie Kirk is no longer around, that's just disgusting. It's I don't know. I don't mean to go on anymore there, but just God bless Charlie Kirk. Thanks, bro, for doing what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, widow and a mom.
Yeah.
That he left behind. And I'm going to say another thing is you're bringing a scripture to my mind. When the enemy rushes in, God raises up a new standard.
Yeah.
When the enemy rushes in, God raises up a new standard. So those are just little verses like that get me through the day.
Right.
That makes it a moment in time feel more real.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Greg Beltry's making comments on the thing, but they're not coming through properly.
Well, tell him come down.
Well, I am.
He's just around the block. Come on down, Gregory. So yeah, and I appreciate you standing up and saying, "Yeah, I will take the reins. I will do the best I can." And you're already getting way ahead of the game because you're learning and you're getting a finger on the pulse.
Yeah, I've got a lot to learn, Jimmy. I mean, I've been around the block a few times, you know. I mean, but every day if I don't learn something, you know, it's not been a beneficial. All right, haven't gotten out to try to learn. It's just, you know, it's just.
No, and I'm every day I'm getting stretched. I mean, whether it's in my plumbing deal or concrete or carpentry or making cheese or milking the cow or raising a garden. I'm learning stuff every day.
I got to talk to you about that making cheese sometime.
Well, we got over 100 gallons a week right now. And that would be a good time to be talking to me.
There you go.
So mozzarella is the big one. A lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
people are learning how to make mozzarella, and it's huge, and it's fun, and it's a wholesome thing to keep our mind on. But it's also probiotics.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
And
getting
it's God and it's science together.
Amen.
It's an art, it's a science.
Yeah.
and it's God coming together to make that perfect piece of
Yeah.
cheese for you. So it's.
so, and there's a lot of different cheeses, but we make cottage cheese is another one that's easy to do too. But it is definitely fun.
I appreciate that art. I appreciate your.
And ice cream is the other one. Ice cream is
Oh, good.
that's my favorite.
Yeah. And I know Steve's got a science background too. You know, with the distilling and whatnot. So that's really cool.
We're
good,
creators.
Good company, man. Good company.
So the butter is the other thing.
There you
There's
go.
nothing like good old homemade butter.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's good. Those are wholesome things that we're keeping our minds on,
Yeah.
and it's good stuff. Keeping people,
Right on.
making sure they're not freezing to death and eating good, clean food. And I mean, it's a good life. It's a fun life here.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful life, and I don't want to see it. I want to see it go in that direction. I want to see young people grow up and get married and be successful, and I don't want to see all of God's creation just dismantled by a few crazies on the planet.
So with all that
I'm
being
with
said, what do you guys think about, I think there's some research to be done. We don't have a whole lot of time, right? I mean, counting this down to November 4th of when this ballot's going to come out. What do you think, Taylor? Maybe do some research, maybe
Yeah.
end up at the county, at the commissioners meeting. You want to come on again next week?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
love to have you
I
on
think it'd be
again.
nice to have a couple other people on too. We can spitball that.
Yeah,
But,
I just invited Greg on. Of course, Jack's going to come on. They're bear hunting.
Oh, okay.
So their bear hunting deal will be over at the end of the month.
Good. Good. I'm sure they have their Starlink, so they're watching the program.
Well, hopefully.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
The last little bit of battery.
And it really is. We need to time is short to try to get the word out. I don't know if we need to try to write an article to the paper. We might say something to Jordan. We could say something to Fred. I sure don't want to think negative about the new owners of the Sentinel, but I just don't know right now what's going on. I do know that they were instrumental in the original Justice Center thing, and I don't know how they really feel about that. Are they still trying to push for it too? So is there going to be some conflict there if we write an article to the Sentinel or just
So here again, I think Reggie and Michael Foster are both receptive of coming on or being interviewed.
Well, that'd be great to have them on the podcast.
Or even
too.
let me, I would like to just interview them and write an article in their newspaper. Here's your newspaper. I got questions for you. Let's get the air cleared. That's what this is about. Let's see where we're all at
Well, yeah,
here.
because we're not trying to make accusations here.
No.
Against Bill we are. Against Lucas we are.
Yeah.
Against,
Those are hard set
against
decisions.
Ann we are. We're making
Yeah.
accusations against you because we know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Michael Foster and Reggie Foster are very stand-up people. I think they're principled people, and I think if they're shared, other viewpoints and looked at things, and maybe they have a reason. you know, Reggie was I think she was like the administrator for the commissioners. And she's also got a degree, I think, in communication. So they picked her to be the spokesperson to put out there in front of the Justice Center. Now, that was her job. She may have disagreed with it, but it was her job to promote that.
Well, then that'd be something to dig to the bottom of it, because
So that's where I'm at with that.
all hands on deck now, folks. I mean,
Yeah, all hands on deck.
if they're trying to raise our property tax to match a grant to put the Justice Center in, no bueno.
Steve, I think the publication on the voting, on the ballot, the publication of the printing of the ballot is Friday, like the day after tomorrow. So I think we've missed the window of opportunity to try to combat that.
It'll be fine. We just need to know what they're trying to do, and then people can just vote it down.
Sure, absolutely. So here again, I
What we
think
got to do, though, it's just like at the big level, right? We got to watch that stuff don't get mixed together there.
yeah, a whole bunch of stuff mixed together, and then
People
something
think,
squirts
yeah,
through.
we're gonna do the property.
Well, we won this one, but we lost these three.
Well, yeah, we're gonna do the lodging tax to help the child care thing, but in the meantime, all our property tax is gonna get booted up because they're gonna try to do the Justice Center. That's what I'm talking about. Are we talking about little kids here, or are you talking about trying to put a territorial prison in here?
Well, and here again, to me, I want property taxes eliminated. I think at some point in time, you got to be able to own your own property.
Yeah.
You need to own it without any lien from the government. And they take our money at gunpoint at this point in time.
Yeah.
If you don't pay your taxes, they will come and take your stuff.
And the on report about
So that's
this-
like what the Queen did to her forefathers. That's what happened there. That's what the king.
honorary part about this county too is they don't have any other way to generate revenue. That's like their main. That's the bread and butter is property tax. There's no other revenue sources.
Oh,
We
and
don't
that's-
have gold mines, and we don't have oil wells, and we don't have all this stuff that a lot of these other counties have.
right.
You're
Steve.
exactly right. And that's one of the things that I've asked the commissioners, and it's a really good question. Where does the majority of your revenue come from as a county? Where does the majority of your money that you spend, where does that come from? And it sounds like it's from the taxes in the two towns. But I couldn't get a straight answer out of any of them. I was like, you're running this show, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know where the money's coming from. You don't even know where it's going. You're hiring people that are not capable of doing a job. You're overpaying them.
Now they only got to
And-
work 4 days a week.
And now you got them a 4-day work week. I mean, you're starting to piss me off. So where are you going with all this?
Sounding more and more like the federal government.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They emulate it. And that's the problem.
That is a problem. That's the problem, and we need to shrink the government.
Well,
at this point, and as Republicans, as conservatives, I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
And here's something, Taylor, that I found real fascinating, and I was actually glad to hear you speak about it. But when you were mentioning in your escapades in this world, working with the DOJ and the DEA and stuff, and talking about their record keeping, and when something went astray, how they would be accountable and get fired.
yeah,
I mean, I'm flabbergasted.
yeah.
I'm like, really? How come that didn't happen anywhere else? Really? I mean, I'm
Exactly.
like,
And there's-
really? There's something going on that's like the way it should be somewhere?
Yeah.
I was
And-
amazed.
And what's unfortunate about that too? Well, I won't go into detail. Never mind that. But you're absolutely right, Steve. It's accountability and it's repercussions. If you don't abide by policies, rules, regulations, there's got to be punishment that's handed out. Otherwise, what's going to keep you from doing it? Oh, just a little slap on the hand. Okay, sorry, I won't do it again. And you go out and do it again. It's just.
And here again, it's not high school. And I look at this group of people up here as they treat it like it's a little high school group. And it's just a little group, and we don't have to. And the CRCC, that group of Nimrods, we don't have to do that because we're Custer County. We don't have to follow the rules. We're just a group of little old ladies up here. Why would we have to do that?
And then they get fined by the state for not having the records in order, but yet.
And use their money to sue Lenny, who said, look, we got to get this thing straight. I'm part of the Republican Party. And they sue him. Here again, it's just it's just a pattern of crazy ass unreasonable behavior, and it's childish. Those people said, oh, they should embrace Lenny. A
They should
reasonable
have.
person would have said, man,
Well,
God blessed us with
I mean,
with a person that has this talent,
That's
and he's
where
going to
this-
help us and help us graduate into maturity.
That's where the slander comes from. They slandered Lenny.
Where did they?
Oh, well, I mean, I found that by talking to that one gal that I was talking to just off the side street. And she says, well, we couldn't have him in there. He's trying to get too much power. What part? There's no power at all. He just wants to fix the books. He's not getting a job. He's not getting paid.
I'm going to say correct.
That's
I'm going to say correct the books. They fixed the books. Lenny was going to correct
They
the books.
cooked the books is what they did. They're in there shredding them, and they're making up credit card receipts off the hook.
wow.
Burns in there making up credit card receipts.
Got a two-hour conversation with Vern. He doesn't even know that it was recorded. And he told on everybody. That's a big piece of evidence. Well, that's things that the commissioners are going to have to address.
Yeah.
Little did he know, him receiving the taxpayer money had a duty to us to go to the authorities and say, these people have misused the taxpayers' money. But he didn't. He caballed up with the rest of them, said, I need my job. Now he's getting $95,000, and Bill Candace said, no way can that bookkeeper make more than me. I mean, what kind of asinine person would ever say that? The bookkeeper's the most, that's the very center of the wheel.
Well, and that's back to, are you trying to be responsible with money, or are you just trying to spend everybody else's money? Because if you're just trying to spend everybody else's money, it doesn't matter.
I would ask one person out there in YouTube land or X land or whatever, do a court report and ask for Bill Candace's payment, all of his pay since he's been a commissioner. That'd just be one little thing you could do. I'm going to do it. So there again, but somebody needs to take some incentive and investigate these people, and nobody's going to do it because they're afraid. Ooh, somebody's going to think about me. Ooh, I'm a bad person. That's like me taking Tom Flower to the commission, the ethics commission. Oh, I better not do it because somebody might think bad about me.
You better watch out. You're going to get off camera there.
I know. Well, I got to stand up. I'm pretty broken. And I got to get home and milk 2 cows yet. But anyways,
Well, so let's convene next week. We'll see if we'll get us a couple more guests on. And with that being said, folks,
well, and Steve, one of the other things I wanted to say is email people and try to get them to come to the Red County, and look at the podcast and see what's going on and maybe get involved. This is a stage where people can voice their opinion. So that's a big deal.
yeah, I mean, it's important, folks, and we try to cover only stuff that actually matters. I mean, the fact that they want to raise your property tax to float the Justice Center that you've already voted down twice seems pretty underhanded to me. So let's watch them coming and going here.
Yep.
Till next week.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Thanks, Steve.
Right on.
Thanks, Taylor.